Alam naman ng lahat ng tao na si Ninoy Aquino had a pact, an unholy alliance with the Malaysians to drop the claim of Sabah. He was very emphatic. Kapal nga ng mukha eh. Na-announce pa na pagka siya ro naging presidente, drop niya yung claim sa Sabah. Oh.
Yung Sabah, well, mabuti na bibigyan ng karapat-dapat na ng atensyon dito, At tinataas, inaangat na po ni Secretary Locsin yung pagbibigay ng atensyon dito. At sabi niya, ito ay dadalhin niya at mapag-usapan sa BIMP IAGA, itong Philippine Claims over Sabah, to be discussed by BIMP IAGA. Sabi ko nga sa iyo kanina, alam mo itong BIMP IAGA, nasa plano mo nga itong Belt and Road na doon dapat idaan in the Philippine participation. So, sabi dito ni Locsin, the Philippines' claim over Sabah should not have been allowed to go dormant, and the issue was expected to be taken up by regional peers. Mainis na naman ang Malaysia dito dahil nandun sila, nakaupo din sila dyan. Foreign Secretary Teodoro Terryboy Locsin Jr. said Tuesday. Ikaw ang familiar sa BIMP IAGA.
Yeah, I launched an advocacy in year 2012 and I entitled it Bangsa Sulok Rising. And I have an unpublished book on this precisely because yung last chapter, which the revival of the claim, ay hinihintay ko because that would be my last chapter for the book. But the book is ready without a chapter or two. Ang problema kasi dito, nabili ng mga intereses na banyaga at mga in cahoots with our oligarchy. Unang-una na yung Aquino, kuha ko oligarchy na yan. Alam naman ng lahat ng tao na si Ninoy Aquino had a pact, an unholy alliance with the Malaysians to drop the claim of Sabah. He was very emphatic. Kapal nga ng mukha eh. Na-announce pa na pagka siya ro naging presidente, drop niya yung claim sa Sabah. Oh. Anyway, alam mo, Mentong, na-button hole tayo rito ng British by insisting on the technicality of whether the Tausug word padjak meant cession in favor of Malaysia or lease in favor of the Philippines. Now, hindi naman nila minimension that in the same contract there is a prohibition for the British company, which was a private company. It had no authority, no right whatsoever to acquire anything on the basis of sovereignty. No? Ownership siguro meron. Pero sovereignty, ibang issue yan. Now, there is a portion of that pinirmahan na yan na hindi pwedeng i-turn over ang whatever rights, lease rights na yan that the British company acquired to any country, state, or nation. Oh, button hole tayo ron sa lease or cession. Now, if you read the, I would advise our listeners to read the arguments of none other than Jovito Salonga. Ang pinaka-brilliant points of our Sabah claim was initiated by Jovito Salonga, the late great senator, Jovito Salonga. And isa sa mga issue na binanggit niya dyan, is that there is no question whatsoever on the ownership of the Sultanate of Sulu over Sabah. What is at question is the involvement of a overdeck and dent, which was the Borneo British North Borneo Company, acquiring some kind of rights. They cannot have rights over sovereignty because they're not a country. They're a private individual. The public power of acquisition and administration of North Borneo, unlike the British trading companies chartered at that time, does not extend. So ang malabo, yung acquisition ng British North Borneo Company, ipso facto, the British, and ipso facto, the Malaysians. Yung acquisition ng Sultanate of Sulu has no question whatsoever.
Okay, I think it's very clear we have the right to Sabah, the Philippines, no? Number one, first point. Second point, I also, and maybe you should mention this also in your discussion lagi, Malaysia conducted a referendum that is not genuine. Ano? Yung referendum, importante, hindi mo nababanggit yan. Oo nga, peke.
But that's what referendum self-determination.
But that's what they present sa UN. That's why we have to keep repeating that it's a fake. Number three, assuming that we are successful in bringing it up again sa UN, we cannot go to war. We cannot force, or can we get the UN to enforce something? Yun ang tanong sa iyo.
Well, I would look at this with two hands. One is the Republic of the Philippines' hand over diplomacy. But there is no stopping, even in Islamic law, for the Sultanate of Sulu and the Tausug nation from declaring or recovering land which is their own. And in Islam, which the Malaysians understand, they have a right to a what do you call this? I'm hindi ko masabi yung word right now eh. But it's anong tawag doon yung kanila?
Okay, mamaya na yan.
Oh, sige, maalala ko yan mamaya.
Ganito Kaado, my point is, but the Malaysians will not give it up without a fight. Meron bang middle ground without fighting, but with, of course, pressure na may makuha ang Pilipinas at ang Sultanate of Sulu?
Well, I am privy to the strategies of the Sultan of Sulu because I am a consultant to Sultan Pugdalun Kiram II, and I cannot I cannot speak any further.
Okay.
All I can say is the Sultanate of Sulu is not bound because the Sultanate of Sulu is a de facto state. It has the option to obey the Constitution of the Philippines or to seek recovery of a lost territory grabbed from them under Islamic law. So that's all I will say.
Okay, and may army pa naman ang Sultanate of
Sulu. The word I was looking for was jihad.
Jihad, oh. Alam na natin ibig sabihin ng jihad. Okay. So okay. So let me read some of our listeners and the audience po, no? From Angel Aliporo, heard about Wealth of the Nations hosted by Ka Anton Israel. Comment please. I have not heard and I promise to review that, no? So sige, we will take a look, ano? Kaado, baka meron kang nakita na tungkol kay Anton Israel? Wala pa rin siguro, no? We've never discussed it. From Archie Cruz, good evening, Mentong and Kaado, no? God bless you both. Rain Cloud, good evening, Mentong and Kaado from Daegu. Daegu is in Korea ba? I would think so, no? From June Loquiliano, good evening, Mentong and Kaado. Lagi akong nakasunod sa inyo watching from Paway, Ilocos Norte. And if I had time, I would sing Pamulinawan for you. Saldi Oreo, yung mga asymptomatic lang nabubuhay pag nagkataon. Laughing out loud. Ayan about Sabah claim. Mentong Kaado, pwede bang iakyat sa international court itong claim na to? Pwede po, ano? Ang magiging depensa ng Malaysia lagi yung kanilang referendum. So there has to be a way to topple that myth about that referendum. Kasi wala namang representative parties dyan, no? Rain Cloud, 40% of Malaysian wealth are coming from Sabah. You're correct. kita po ninyo yung mapa na ginawa ko po, ano, Malaysia nasa mapa when it should be the Philippines, no? And si Gat Jose Rizal bumibisita po sa Sandakan, which is in Sabah, ano? And parang parte ng Pilipinas talaga yon noon, panahon niya ano? From John Paul de los Reyes, salamat po Mentong and Kaado sa pagtatalakay tungkol sa usapin sa Sabah, ano? Balikan po, I really love that part of Rizal's story na nung nasa dapitan siya, ano, and pumunta siya sa Sandakan and so on. John from Saldi Oreo, Malaysian has the same military power to the Philippines, but we are greater in numbers. Precisely, that's the advantage of having a big population. Ken Fernandez, good evening po. And from Rex Lumhod, good evening Kaado and Mentong. Sa Facebook may bago bang pumasok from Florence Eknerolf. Nalit ako, at least nakahabol. Gandang gabi mga sir from Singapore po. Ano, Dan Malyari, ba't umalis nyo ang topic kay Lugaw? Mamaya babalik po tayo dyan. And from Felipe Cruz, let's see, Seymour, good evening sa inyo, Mentong and Kaado. We are listening and watching regularly. Thank you for your tireless service to accurate and truthful, useful information. More power to your program. From Carlos Anyago, good evening po, Mentong and Kaado. Keep safe always. Palagay ko po, mahirapan na tayong mabawi ang Sabah. Well, yung creative approach po dito ang importante, and political will, which the Sultanate of Sulu clearly has, ano. And now with President Duterte, at least nabuhay na ulit itong issue na to.